What's going on, folks? Ted from Nerd Immersion here, and I wanted to chime in and talk about the Playtest Packet 4 for Kobold Press's Tales of the Valiant. It released last Friday, and I was away on vacation for the past week, so you may have noticed a lapse in videos, but don't worry, I am back at it. It's a pretty quick one. It's just two lineages and heritages. It's called Smallfolk and Kobolds. In an interesting move, they combined the concept of halflings and gnomes into one called Smallfolk, and then kobolds are kobolds. Something I feel like when you're a Kobold Press is the company making this, I figured that would have been something you would have likely led with. But either way, let's go ahead and take a look. So I got this off of the Kobold Press website. I have a link to this in the description. You can download this here on their website or via DriveThruRPG. And the survey to fill out feedback on this is available until next Friday. So I have it open, I think, right here. There it is. So let's get ourselves zoomed in a little bit. So here we go. Lineage options. Kobolds. I don't think I really need to explain what a kobold is to all of you. Those of you that play Dungeons and Dragons or similar games, I think, are all aware of what a kobold is. So if you recall, if you haven't really been too familiar with what's going on with Project Black Flag, lineages and heritages are separate. Lineage is more of the, I guess, the nature, and the heritage is more of the nurture, right? We're talking biological versus upbringing kind of a thing. So, all right. What do we get for being a kobold? Well, our age is tied to this. They usually reach elderly status around 80. They live to be 100. They are small size. However, you can choose to play of a rare type of kobold called dragonkin, who stand about 5 feet in height and are medium size. Your size determines which trait you have. You'll see what the trait is in just a second here. Base movement speed is 30 feet. Now, they did change it back to dark vision. Weren't they calling it night vision in other things? Now here it's being referred to as dark vision. I don't know if that's a change on purpose or something that just appears here for kobolds specifically for some reason. But either way, dark vision out to 60 feet. Tinker's Fascination is a kobold-specific trait. Your innate fascination with how things work allows you to use tools with ease. Whenever you make an ability check with a tool, roll a d8 and add the result to the check. This is an interesting concept here. I don't think we've seen something like this, at least in the world of Dungeons and Dragons. We have seen things where they've added, roll a d4. This is a d8. Interesting. And then natural adaptation. This is based on the size that we referenced earlier. Small but fierce. When a large or larger creature you can see within 5 feet of you attacks you, you can use your reaction to attack that creature immediately after its attack. Or dragonkin, which puts you at medium size. You have a natural AC of 13 plus your Dex modifier, and additionally you have resistance to one of the following damage types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. So this is obviously tapping more again into the draconic nature of kobolds. Interesting. We're not seeing now. I know that pack tactics is a little powerful, so I understand the concept of not including pack tactics. So I like this concept of small but fierce. That's something that's always kind of been an association with kobolds in general. That's what they are. So I do appreciate this. And instead of basically giving you pack tactics, you're essentially giving them a reactionary attack, which is interesting. Obviously, pack tactics being the stronger. We're also trading away sunlight sensitivity just not being a thing. Although we do seem to see Wizards of the Coast is going that right as well, kind of removing inherent downsides to what they're now calling species, or what's being referred to as lineages here. In my opinion, I think Dragonkin is the clear winner, but it does seem to... Now, we don't know if Dragonborn or whatever the equivalency will be. I don't think we've seen that from Kobold Press yet, but it seems to me that Dragonkin almost negates the need for something like that. The only thing you're lacking here is the breath weapon. Now, another thing I do think is kind of strange, given the fact that Swobolds, and again, this is a personal thing of mine here, right? Swobolds are plastered all over the various sections of Kobold Press's website. They've become synonymous with Kobold Press in a variety of different ways, from miniatures to pins to t-shirts to even popping up when you're not signed up for their newsletter saying, be smart, be like Smallfold, sign up for the newsletter. Obviously, again, this is a personal thing for me, being the person who originally created the Swobold, but Why is that not an option or a sub-choice, as it were, or you know, a choice here under Kobold? Now, I thought maybe we were going to have that as a heritage, right? Like you're a Kobold, that's your base, but maybe your heritage was Swobold, so like, again, being a more medium-sized, you know, larger Kobold that's hulking and strong. I thought that could be kind of an interesting choice to include. And it seems like a no-brainer that you, like, why wouldn't you include that? That just seems like it would make sense to me, personally, but unless you're waiting, Kobold Press, to offer that option to design that one to me, which I will do. I would love to work with you on that, but either way. Let's jump into Smallfolk. Again, this is sort of the combo of gnome and halfling, and there is a design note here. I don't know if you guys can read it. I'll zoom in a little bit again. As we create lineage options for the core fantasy role-playing game, we're taking another look at ways to better organize 5e options. Regarding halflings and gnomes, though each has a distinct flavor, neither 5e race seems to manifest with a strong mechanical identity. Traditionally, halflings are slightly quicker and gnomes are slightly tougher. However, in light of the core fantasy role-playing separation of ability scores from lineage, this difference becomes even less pronounced. The Smallfolk lineage is an effort to combine the common strengths of halfling and gnomes to make these characters more interesting and viable by combining similar parts and diverging where they become different. Please let us know your thoughts. Again, it's all playtest. Consider that with everything we talk about here, whether it be for 5e Unearthed Arcana or Kobold Press Tales of the Valiant. It's all playtest, so it has the opportunity to change. All right, so base Smallfolk will get small size, walking speed of 30 feet, grounded. Once per day when you fail a save, you can re-roll the die and use the new roll. Regardless of whether the new roll is a success or failure, you generate a luck point. Interesting mechanic there. And then small stature, you can move through the space of any creature that is medium or larger. Additionally, you can attempt to hide when you are obscured by a creature of medium size or larger. I personally don't feel that this does a good job. I mean, we see a lot more. Gnomes have more of an inherent magical nature, at least in the world of 5e. Halflings are a lot more, mundane is not the right term, but, you know, they are like slighter, quicker, sneakier. Gnomes usually have a more magical nature to them in the form of some of their abilities, personally. And then they also have natural adaptation, which you do see the differentiation here, right? If you choose gnomish as your sort of ancestry, you have superior vision in naturally dark and dim conditions. You can see in dim light. You have dark vision, again, with 60 feet, and you can't discern colors, only shades of gray. So you get dark vision for gnomish, and halfling, you have advantage on saving throws against being frightened. Then we move into the heritage options. Again, as a reminder, these are sort of the upbringing that you have. So for Smallfolk, we have Cottage and Salvager, and for Kobold, we have Supplicant and Warrens. So Cottage Heritage, as part of a long rest, you can cook a meal, tell stories, or perform some other activity that comforts your allies. Choose a number of creatures who participate in the long rest equal to your proficiency bonus. Those creatures gain temporary hit points equal to twice your proficiency bonus. This lasts until expended or until you complete your next long rest. You have proficiency in either animal handling or nature, and you know common and one additional language. This, again, gives me very much like halfling vibes, right? We're doing the comforts of home, very much Hobbit-esque in its nature. And then we have Salvager, which is, in my opinion, more of the gnomish background, which we see a lot of craft and tinkering stuff here. Crafty, you have proficiency with tinker's tools and one artisan tools of your choice. Choose cook utensils, potter's tools, or woodcarver's tools. Repurpose, you can create tiny non-magical items using materials from your surroundings. An item takes 1 minute to create and can be anything of 25 GP value or less, GP being gold pieces. When done, it must sit or float on a surface within 5 feet of you. This can be used to create ammunition, light sources, or a precarious but functional climber's kit. The item is obviously kit bash, and resale value is minimal. After one use, it becomes non-functional. You get common and one additional language of your choice. Again, I do think I don't know why, but inherently I'm, for some reason, against the concept of combining them. And I really don't have a good reason why I feel that way. It's just something I don't particularly like. I don't know. I don't really know what it is. But I do think Cottage and Salvager Heritage do a decent job of replicating gnomes and halflings separately. So I do appreciate that. Then for the kobolds, we have Supplicant Heritage. So it says here, Scurry. As a bonus action, you can move up to 10 feet without provoking attacks or opportunity attacks, rather. This does not trigger traps or hazards that you are aware of, even if they are armed. Again, and then Supplicant, you have proficiency in either Insight or Persuasion. When a creature within 30 feet of you spends a Doom point, you have advantage on ability checks and saves until the end of your next turn. Again, this goes back to the luck and kind of Doom mechanic that we've seen in earlier Tales of the Valiant playtests. And then we have languages again, common and a language of your choice. And then lastly, we have the Warren's Heritage for the Kobolds. Tinkerer, you have proficiency with Tinker's tools and one's artisan tools of your choice, alchemist supplies, carpenter's tools, or glass-blowing tools. Trap Maker, when you make a check to create, identify, or disarm a magical or non-magical object, trap, or device, where you have relevant proficiency, double your proficiency bonus. Here is Pack Tactics making its return. You have advantage on attack rolls against a creature if at least one of your allies is within 5 feet of you and that ally is incapacitated. And then common and one additional language of your choice. I guess it kind of makes sense that the concept of pack tactics fall under a heritage and less of a lineage, because learning to fight as a pack is less, in my opinion, of an inborn thing that you just have and more of a thing that you learn in, your background. But also remember that lineages and heritages are separated in the Kobold Press Tales of the Valiant. So in theory, any base lineage could have Warren heritage. So if you happen to be a human raised by kobolds, you could potentially, if you're looking to purely min-max things here, which obviously is not the intention, but if you truly wanted to, you could be a human or some other lineage raised by kobolds in the Warrens and then have pack tactics. Again, like I said, these are fine. I think the Supplicant one, I'm not a huge fan of myself. The Warrens one, like the base this gives very much like traditional Kobold in my mind. I think this does a very good job of capturing traditional Kobold, albeit possibly a little on the strong side. Also, the fact that they have this Trap Maker feature here makes me excited at the concept of possibly having some sort of functional trap mechanics that also allows you to design and create them yourself as a player is interesting to me. So I hope that that ends up appearing in some form in a future playtest or at least the final product. Yeah, Supplicant I could probably take or leave. And again, Smallfolk, I appreciate the concept of trying to combine them both. I think the base lineage is kind of weak in my opinion, a little bit. But I do commend Cottage Heritage and Salvager Heritage as doing a very good job of allowing you to be very halfling or very gnomish in its nature. But yeah, I think my biggest complaint, as I said, is just the lack of representation of the Swobold. It seems like a no-brainer to me. My email's open, Kobold Press, if you want to work together on that in some way. But anyway, let me know your thoughts and opinions on this. It was just two small things here, the two lineages here and a couple of heritages in this particular playtest packet. So a smaller one in the grand scheme of things, but I'm curious to know what your thoughts are. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.